everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. And thank you so much to Pearson for letting me do the roundtable this month. I am going to try to keep up the energy and be just as loud and exciting as she is, because I know she gives great introductions. So let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about storytelling that sells, using PR to build trust and grow your business. And normally, I will say, anytime I talk to clients, the biggest question I usually get is, okay, what you're saying sounds great. You know I need social media. I know I need to be in the newspaper. I know I need this. I know I need this. But how is it going to make me money? Like, that's what I really want to know. What's the ROI? How is what you're doing going to help me grow my business? So I've had this presentation in the back of my head for about 10 years now, but I'm finally just now solidifying it into something to present to you guys. And I'm very excited to do it. So yes, I'm Shannon. Nice to meet you. I am the founder and head trailblazer of Campfire Collective. We are a Memphis-based communications agency, and we empower our clients through strategic community-focused marketing. So what does that mean? That means that we're a full-service marketing agency, but we look at things from a different lens. We look at it from community relations, from a people-first lens. How can we connect our clients to their target audience? How can we connect them to the people that they want to get engaged with? How can we connect them to their community? So that's what today is all about. So for me, I believe in the power of public relations to support, drive change, and build communities. I'm very passionate about it. I'm also passionate that the power of public relations really lies in the foundation of storytelling. So let's go. So what is PR? PR is really just trust built through stories. People connect with brands emotionally, not just logically, and stories within your business humanize you and create emotional bonds. And your brand story differentiates you from your competitors and makes you memorable. So what does all of that mean? This first logo, when you look at it, what do you think about? Go back just for a second, sorry, there we go. What do you think about? The Nike logo. Do you think about the sweater that or sweatshirt that you bought on sale from the outlet that you got half off for $90 and now you're wearing it during the fall? Or do you think about the GOAT Michael Jordan and the impact that he made on the basketball industry? Do you think about Ja Morant and how he started out at Murray State and was undervalued and underappreciated and hustled and worked hard and practiced, and now he has his own shoe deal? What's the difference there? The difference there is storytelling. That logo says a lot more than just, buy our product. It represents what people want to feel. It represents what people want to be. It represents the best in athleticism and working hard and just doing it, right? So yeah, this is our logo, Campfire Collective. What does that mean? Okay, so I'll give you an example of us on more of a local level. We are not just Nike. I promise you, we are not Nike. But our logo here, you see it's a triangle, looks like a little fire, Campfire Collective. Our story's a little bit different. So for us, what Campfire Collective means, why we're called what we're called, why we have that logo, is twofold. So one, it represents the way that we work with our clients. We're not someone who dresses in a business suit and comes in and tells you exactly what we're going to do for you, and we're going to do X, Y, Z and take it or leave it. And I know I'm wearing heels today, but it's really just to impress you guys. I rarely ever wear heels. I rarely ever dress formal. I'm much more of a casual person. We come in, and the way we like to approach the situation is that we have an agenda, we come to the table with ideas, but we really want to hear from the client. We are listening first. So imagine the scenario of you sitting around a campfire with your community, with your colleagues, with your customers, telling stories, exchanging ideas, brainstorming together. That's what we're doing. So we come in, we ask the client questions, we get to know who they really are. Like, we make it our job to be a part of that company, to figure out what irks you, what ticks you, what works, what doesn't, and then start brainstorming ideas from there. It's not just like a one-size-fits-all package deal. And the other part of what that logo means is the way that we approach campaigns. So for any of you campers in the audience, or not campers, if you love like a backyard bonfire, think about building a fire. So first, you're gathering the kindling, you're gathering the wood, you're gathering the research and the data and coming together with all the plans and the storytelling elements, right? So you get the fire together and then you light it and it goes up in flames and you launch your campaign, right? But then, the fire only burns for so long before it dies out. So you got to continue to fan the flames and keep it going over time, adding more wood, adding more elements, adding more stories, adding more research, adding more data, adding more analysis. And that is how we continue to build and continue that fire over time. So yes, this is a logo. It took us about a year to get there because of all of those storytelling elements that we wanted to make sure to include in who we are and what we do. So PR is building trust through storytelling, and trust translates to support. So this is the piece of it where someone says to me, great, Shannon, that all sounds wonderful. Love stories, love you guys, love what you do. How you making me money? Okay, well, let's break it down. PR builds your reputation. It lays the foundation for who you are and what you do and why you do it. It is what you want people to remember about you as a company and the impact that you're making. Then marketing on top of that is what drives the sales. So you start with the story, then you build now here's what we're asking you to do, and then together they drive action. So PR is just one piece of that marketing puzzle. You're not really going to have the sales unless people trust you, believe in you, you have that credibility, you have the reputation. If you're someone they've never heard of, you don't have any sort of stories behind you, credibility behind you, they don't know how to research you, look you up, anything like that, they're probably not going to give you money. You have to be able to show them why. So together, they build that action piece. So here's a good example. Meet Josh and Emily. They're lovely, wonderful people. They are a client of ours and we helped them. They own Gym, the restaurant Gym in the Edge District. They're approachable fine dining. I might be a little biased, but I'm also not biased. If you haven't been, please go. It is the best food in Memphis right now. But they hired us a little over a year ago because they were opening up their own brick and mortar restaurant and they needed help getting the word out, right? So we start with the challenge. We start with the story. We start with the why. So Josh is the chef. Emily is the operations and the support. They moved here from Chicago. He's a classically trained chef that worked in so many famous restaurants all across Chicago. Then they decided Chicago wasn't for them anymore. They really wanted to move. They wanted to find something smaller, but they really wanted a place with a community feel. So they traveled to cities all across the country, kind of looking for where do we want to go? What do we want to do? And they fell in love with Memphis. And I was like, all right, you're my people. I can do this. Let's go. So they move here. Emily starts a job. Josh starts a catering company. And he starts creating food for all these different events and festivals and private dining events. And suddenly he's grown. And now he's at a place where he's like, you know what? I can open a restaurant and I can fulfill my dream. And I have the foundation to do it. Let's do this. So I asked Josh, great, you're a fine dining restaurant. What makes you different? Why should I go here over Catherine and Mary's, over Flight, over Porch and Parlor, over Amelia Jean's? Like, why should we pick you? For him, he has a really cool dream of bringing fine dining to the masses. He thinks that anybody, no matter how much money you make, should be able to appreciate and indulge in fine dining food. So if you look at their menu, it is very intricate, very detailed menu items that take forever to prepare. We're talking short ribs that are braised and slow roasted for 2 to 3 days. We're talking about all these different fresh ingredients. It changes seasonally. It's a lot of work. He puts his heart into what he's doing. But then it's large portions, so you're not going and getting like 3 bites of something and then leaving the restaurant and going to McDonald's right after. You are full and you're probably taking home leftovers. And the prices are like casual dining prices, maybe a little bit elevated from there. It's a price point where anyone who goes out to eat to a restaurant could afford it. And I actually tell him all the time to raise his prices, and he pushes back against me because he doesn't want to be unapproachable to anybody. His whole concept is approachable fine dining. And then if you look at the end of his menu, there's actually a glossary and an index over what all those fancy words mean when you're describing the menu items, because he doesn't want people to feel uncomfortable when they're having to figure out what a menu item actually is, whether it's ask the server, pronounce it wrong, ask a friend, figure out what it means. Or if you're like me, you're like Googling under the table, what is this word? How do I pronounce it? What does this mean? What am I actually about to put in my body? It's all right there for you in definitions. So you have your menu, it's affordable pricing, it's big portions, you have a definition and a dictionary below you, but it's still fine dining. And Josh, super nice guy. He will come out from behind the kitchen, talk your ear off to anybody, very casual, very relatable. It's a very homey vibe. There's nothing else to my knowledge like that here in Memphis. That's their story. That is what sets them apart from their competitors. That is what makes them different. That is the why where people would want to come and dine with them. So for us to approach their challenge, which is we're opening a restaurant, how do we get people to come eat our food? We first started with the story, and then from there we created this solution based off that story. We built them a social media presence. We did a media night with a soft opening event. And then we did a bunch of press pitches to local media. So after that 3-month PR campaign, we look at results. These first few results on the slide are a bunch of data and analytics that most people are not going to care about. They're what we care about because that's how we measure as an agency whether, we were successful or not or what worked. So over that 3-month period telling their story, we had 120,000 social media impressions and over 6,600 active engagements. We had 7 press articles secured in key outlets, which equaled 3.8 million unique visitors. We had 6 national press articles, including a feature in Food and Wine magazine. And then we get to the statistics that Josh and Emily actually care about, right? They sold out their entire opening week. They exceeded their sales goals each day for months after. And then a year later, continuously to this day, if you want to get in on a weekend or for a special occasion holiday, you have to book in advance. You can't just walk up. Those are the success results. So for this, the story, the why is what I just told you about Josh and moving here. Then that's the PR. Then the marketing piece of it is the social media, is the media night, is the press pitches that drives the action to get those results. So where do you start? You start with your why, okay? And here's how you build your brand story. 3 key components that I want you to take away from here: authenticity, connection, and purpose, okay? 3 big elements of figuring out what your brand story is. You want to keep it authentic. You want to keep it real and relatable. You want people to know you and who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. And that's what's going to set you apart from the person down the street. So do some digging to really figure out those components. And then the connection piece of it, you want to tap into the emotions that relate to your audience. So you got to tell them why they should invest with you, why they should engage with you, and really start to tell those stories and pull on those heartstrings. And then figure out what your purpose is. You got to speak to your audience's needs, because if you're not meeting their needs, why would they engage with you, right? Okay. So I know a lot of that sounds very esoteric and like, Shannon, what does that mean? How do I even do that? We got examples, okay? So this is how we do it at Campfire Collective. And if you follow me on social media, I promised you self-deprecating humor and dog photos. Well, here's your dog photo of the presentation, right? This is how we do it. For authenticity, our social media for Campfire Collective celebrates our unique personality. So if you haven't figured out by now, we're a little quirky. We're not really polished. We're smart, we're professional, we know what we do, but we're friendly and we're casual and relatable. And, that might not be for everybody. It's not a one size fits all type personality, but if you relate to that, we're the people you come to. So this is Cosmo. Cosmo is Kate's dog. He is featured on our social media, at least once a week. He gets a new sweater at least once a week. So every week I kind of ask Kate, like, hey, what's Cosmo wearing and sporting this week? And she brings him to co-working events. She brings him to other things. So we usually get a photo of him to pose. And it's just part of our friendly, casual nature. Never bring my dog to client events. Kate doesn't either, but I promise you, if we're meeting with a client and there's a dog there, they will be the center of attention for at least the first 5 to 10 minutes. Promise. Then we move on to the connection piece. And that is how we focus on the importance of community. Remember when I told you up front that we are an agency that empowers clients through community-minded marketing? Community is in the name of what we do, right? So this photo is a photo that we put on our social media for a PR campaign that we partnered with for WYXR. We did a lot of promo, helping to promote their free music festival at Crosstown Concourse that showcases local Memphis artists called Raised by Soundfest. And then our purpose, we understand what our clients are, who our clients are, and their needs to connect. So this photo, this is Aubrey with Mid-South Hobbies. And if you haven't visited their store on Summer Avenue, I urge you, please go check it out. It is the coolest hobby store you will ever see, and it is the largest in this region. But Aubrey, they sell a lot of RC cars, and you can't find RC cars like they have anywhere in this near radius. People travel to visit their store. So we helped them connect with the RC community here in Memphis. And this is a segment that she did on a TV show about RC cars opening up their new racetrack that anyone can come use behind the store. So showing the purpose of, hey, we need people to come in. We need RC car enthusiasts to know that we exist. We're really digging into that and making sure that we understand what our clients need. Go for it. So then you built your brand story, right? Well, now you got to leverage that storytelling to grow. This is the marketing piece. And I could do 18 different presentations on how to leverage your storytelling to grow. Today, we're going to focus on one slide. So I'm going to give you the quick bullet points. So here are just a few examples of ways that you can figure out your story and then leverage it. So media outreach is a huge one, getting featured in local media, industry media, national media. This story or this photo that is associated with media outreach, this woman's phenomenal. She was recognized for a Welcome to Memphis Pick Award, which essentially represents the best in Memphis hospitality. So she works at the Delta counter at the airport, and we all know what it's like to go to the airport, right? You walk in, you're running late, you might miss your flight, you're exhausted, you're rushed, you forgot this, you forgot that, I'm gonna have to buy this when I get into the airport, I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. You're stressed out. Well, this woman can take that experience and completely transform it into the best airport experience you've ever had in your life. And she didn't just receive one nomination with this experience, she received multiple. Time and time again, this woman is making people have a good time at the Memphis airport. Okay, that deserves a round of applause, and we need to appreciate this woman. So what we did is we took this story about her award, included to the media exactly why she's winning this award, and said, hey, we're presenting her with this award this Friday morning, 9 a.m. We'd love it if you come feature her. We had several news outlets that wanted to come just to talk to this woman and figure out what her secret was and to highlight the good that's going on in our community. Strategic partnerships, that's another great example of a way that you can leverage your story. So align with trusted brands can really help you elevate and grow your audience outside of your initial circle, right? So this is a photo of Kate and Allison. They are working WYXR Raised by Soundfest. Just another example of our strategic partnership with WYXR. Like, we did some work for them and helping them with the PR and social for the event. We also partner with them on a couple other local initiatives, but we're a community-minded agency. They are Memphis's community radio station. It just seems like a natural fit for us to be working together. And then social media, Pearson told you all about this and how we've been working on the SOE social media, and it's kind of what we're known for. But building your following on social media, using your story in those posts, and then driving action after you build that following. So including links to your posts, like click here for more information, call us for a quote, whatever it may be. So these examples over here, we do a lot of grand openings. And I love them because they're super fun. And usually grand openings mean clients can't tell me no when I start going crazy with ideas because they want it to be the best. So these are a couple that we did last year with Stitching Supply and Boshi Botanicals. If you haven't checked them out, they are both in Chickasaw Oaks Mall. That place is newly renovated. It's flooded with like local women entrepreneurs running their businesses and trying to make a living. You should go check it out. These are just two of the many wonderful businesses in that place. But for Stitching Supply, they are a knitting store, a yarn store, essentially. And Boshi Botanicals is a zero waste store. So with Stitching Supply, we knew that there were a lot of people who knit, who needle punch, who sew in Memphis, but there is no place for them to gather together. For Boshi, we know that there are people who want to live zero waste or who are curious about making a few substitutions on how to be more environmentally friendly in their like everyday living. So we tapped into those relationships. We focused on strategic partnerships with both of them. We partnered with the chamber to do ribbon cutting. So the chamber brought out the business community. With Stitching Supply, we partnered with some local knitting clubs to give them room to like come and congregate. With Boshi, we partnered with some environmentally friendly and some eco nonprofits and other businesses, and just had big old parties to celebrate these stories. We had media show up at both because we were able to show why they're unique. And then we also helped them build their social media followings too. So we took that big launch event, kind of translated it into a smooth sailing social media presence from there. So that is essentially the end of what I wanted to say to you today. I wanted to leave a lot of time for Q&A because I've already had people coming up to me and asking me questions, and I can talk about anything. We can stay here all day. I could talk for hours about marketing and social media and PR, Tigers, Grizzlies, whatever you want. If you don't want to go back to work, you let me know. We'll stay as long as you possibly want. But I did want to leave you with this PR reminder. PR and sales are two completely different things. PR is not about selling. It's about connection. So when you tell your authentic stories, you're building trust. And with that trust, you're able to leverage business growth. What questions do you have for me?
What is your favorite dish at Jim?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so if you really want to indulge, you want the braised short ribs because it comes with the homemade mashed potatoes and they are just like fall off the bone delicious. I also love, they have a kimchi arancini, so good. A hamachi crudo appetizer, also so good. And my team swears by their homemade chocolate cake. So if you stay for dessert, it is a family recipe and you get served with a glass of milk with it too, because that's how Emily likes her chocolate cake. She always drinks it with a glass of milk.
And are they open for lunch or just dinner?
Just dinner. Mm-hmm.
Foodies need to know these things.
They do need to know these things. And once a month, they do a Sunday supper, and it's a special seasonal rotation menu. So if you keep an eye on their Instagram, you can know when the Sunday supper is coming up, and you can get reservations.
Do you think social media is right for everybody? Because there's good social media and not so good social media. Mm-hmm. I'm curious if social is always in the strategy, or are there times you've left it out?
Good question. If I had it my way, social media would always be part of the strategy. That being said, social media is not the same for everybody. Some people might get more traction on LinkedIn. Some people might get more traction on Facebook. When we start with a client, we have a huge discovery process. Like I talked about, we really get to know the client. And from there, we put together a strategy, and that strategy outlines, like based on the information we have, here's what we think will resonate best with you. And it's really tailored to who your audience is, what your goal is, where we're going. So yes, I think that there is that community engagement aspect that anybody can take advantage of. It's just going to look different. And I agree with you. There is good social media and not so good social media. I see a lot of wonderful intentions with not as much great follow through.
So for businesses who are using social, do you think there's a magic number of posts that a company should do on a weekly basis to stay relevant and keep their followers engaged?
It's a great question. There is no magic number because you're going to hear me say this a lot, but every business is different, right? So actually the number of posts recommended is what we include usually in that strategy. For example, when we worked with Overton Square, we were posting for them 2 to 3 times a day. But they have a lot going on. They were doing 5 different events a week. They had 30 different tenants that they had to promote every month. There's just only so much room in each day. So it was just a lot of content over and over and over. We've also worked with staffing agencies who aren't running 5 events and don't have 30 tenants to promote. So we may only post for them once or twice a week. It really just kind of depends on, again, who your audience is, what your goal is, how much you have to talk about. Don't ever be posting just to post. Always have a reason to be posting what you're posting.
So how do you deal with social media comments, trolls? What is your strategy for ignoring, or do you ignore them, or you correct them if it's wrong information?
Okay, that you have to be very careful. I'm sure we've all had an experience with a troll on social media at some point. We work with a lot of restaurants, so we see them a lot. If there is any validity to the complaint or to the review, or if it's not inflammatory, we always respond to it. If for nothing else, then to see anyone else, show anyone else who sees it, the customer service element of what you're doing and that you care and that you're acknowledging it. So we have like a rough template that we adapt, which is, we're so very sorry to hear about this. We take all feedback seriously. We'd love to talk to you further. Can you message us your contact information? We'd love to talk to you more about this. That being said, if it is inflammatory, we just hide the comment. Don't ever delete it, because if you delete it, the troll will see it. They'll see that you deleted it, and it often just fuels the fire. And you get more and more and more targeted messages. And sometimes they like to recruit friends. But if you hide it, it doesn't show up to the public, but the person who wrote it can still see it, and anyone they're friends with on Facebook can still see it. So they have no idea that it's hidden. Hot pro tip for you guys. We love the hide button.
So do you monitor every post that you put up as a part of your strategy?
Oh yeah. We have what I call a daily engagement checklist. So it's 10 to 20 different things that we do on each platform every day. It's monitoring comments, check for comments, respond to all comments, check for messages, respond to all messages, comment on 10 to 15 other posts using this location tag, comment on 10 to 15 posts from your community partners, research this and engage with it. And often that community engagement element takes way longer than actually posting. But I have a whole nother soapbox on social media as a two-way street, not just one big advertisement.
So who would you recommend you're engaging with? So, if you're a restaurant or just across the board? Who's your audience is, again, what it really goes back to. Who are the people that you want to engage with offline? Think about that. Or who are the people that you do engage with offline? Who are your target customers? Who are the people that you want to give you money? Like, really, that's what it comes down to, right? So restaurants, for example, it could be, whenever we put together a strategy, we always have a section for community partners, and it lists who you do business with, nonprofits you support, different things you do in the community, et cetera, et cetera. Those are great places to start. Customers,
vendors, neighbors who are in the same shopping center as you. Across the board, I mean, Paragon's a great example. Okay, Paragon Bank does a lot in the community. If I was running their social media, they do a great job. But if I was running their social media, they have hundreds of nonprofits that they support. I would start there. Then I would look at potential customers. I would look at people who are ancillary to those nonprofits. But across the board, you just think about, who are those people that you want to interact with in real life and how you get started doing that on social media.
So you said earlier that stories create emotional bonds and differentiate you from your competitors. My question is, does this emotional connection always correlate to trust? Or generally speaking, it's the beginning of that relationship and there's additional building blocks needed to translate to a client or customers?
That's a great question. There's definitely more that goes into it. I wish that PR just led to clients automatically. I would have more clients than I knew what to do with. But there is a lot more that goes into it. It's essentially the foundation. So like we're in a client services business. We start with the PR, but there's the in-person elements, there's the relationship element, there's the consistency element. So one media blast isn't going to do anything. Like if people hear about you, but they're not ready to engage with you yet, and they forget about you, like you've lost that potential client. So consistency over time for sure, engaging offline, reaching out, personal connections, and then you hire a sales strategist from there, because I am not a sales strategist. I'm a PR person. So, yeah.
So many entrepreneurs are one-man shows. What's your recommendation for keeping your personal and professional, your business social media separated?
There are a lot of differing opinions on this. I'm going to tell you what I think. For me, when I started my business 10 years ago, I used my personal social media as my business tool for a couple reasons. One, I already had a large personal following, and it was just easy, like low-hanging fruit for potential business leads, clients, and customers. And I wasn't really using it for anything else at that time either. I didn't have like a personal social media strategy. So I kind of translated it over and did like half personal, half business stuff to still give it that personality. Then when I rebranded as Campfire Collective in 2022, I wanted some distance. One, because I wasn't a one-man show anymore, but two, because the name was different. So if you're a one-man show and you're a person and you just go by your name, it might make sense to just use your personal. But if you have a consulting firm and you have a name for your agency, it might make sense to start over from scratch. It's also a lot to do with how much you want to invest in it too. So, starting something from scratch and growing it is a lot of work. And it takes consistency and time and effort and strategy. If you have it in you, like for sure, go ahead and do it, but it might be easier to start small. There are pros and cons to both. Like with business pages, you get analytics. With personal pages, you don't. So for those first 5, 6, 7 years, I was guessing. I had no idea what was translating or not. Now we have the data to really understand it. But we did have to start over from scratch, and we just had strategies to convert our personal followings over to the business following. I still have more personal Facebook friends than I do. Campfire Collective has business followers, but it's growing over time. And then you get people who know your brand and not just you. So are you your brand, or is your business your brand? And that's more of the overall storytelling type of question and going back to like who you are.
So talk to me about how you're using AI.
My soapbox for AI is it's a tool, not a job replacement. We use AI, we use it regularly, but it's never a finished product. So for example, if we're writing a blog post series for a client, I can go to ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, whoever, and say, give me 20 different blog post ideas for spring specials for a fine dining restaurant and how we can translate that into something the community wants to come in and try. And it gives me 20 different ideas. And then I kind of use that as brainstorming. I may pick one, I may combine some, I may come up with something totally different based off of what it gets me. And then I outline that into a blog post. AI is also a great extra editing step. It should never be your final editing step, but I love it as an extra editing step because I can take that blog post, run it through. If y'all can't tell, I'm really long-winded, so my blog posts are usually twice as long as they need to be, and it helps me be more clear and concise, checks for grammar and spelling errors, and then I'll send that blog post to our copywriter and editor for final clarification. You can have a blog post outline something for you, but it's never going to have the creativity, the personality, the individuality, really that storytelling element that we've been talking about. Another way we use it, I was having AI help me this morning, refine my language for a proposal we're putting together. We're working on an RFP bid, and it condensed my proposal by 20 pages. So it really helped me be more clear, concise, direct, tell our story better, and really refine how I laid everything out so I wasn't repeating myself.
Okay, and last question. You mentioned partnerships being a big part of PR.
Yes.
Can you give me some examples of that, and how would you approach someone about that?
Yeah, strategic partnerships are one of my favorite things that we do, so I'm happy to talk about it. For us, I mentioned it looks like we're a community-minded business. We work with people who want to connect with people, and our target audience is business owners. So for us, we partner with I Love Memphis and Choose 901. And we write free content for them to highlight people who are doing good things in the city. So it's a win-win for them. It's free content that they get to use and promote that they don't have to pay anyone for. And for us, it's great exposure. It's our name and it's our work in front of a new audience that we hadn't tapped into yet. We also partner with Society of Entrepreneurs. We partner with City Current to do different things, and that helps us get in front of business leaders. So they're getting a little bit of our expertise. We're getting exposure to potential customers and clients. Who you partner with kind of depends on what your goals are, what your mission is, what you're looking to do. So, going back to the Paragon example, they partner with a lot of nonprofit organizations. And how to approach somebody, you just got to come with the idea and the pitch. We're working with a local retail outlet right now that's opening up a second location in South Haven later this year. And like I said, grand openings are great because nobody tells me no, and they have great ideas. So for them, I thought, okay, what if we partner with a local nonprofit down in that area that people love, and a percentage of your sales that day go back to benefit that nonprofit, and then they can promote it to their audience, or XYZ, whatever works for you dollar-wise. What if we do a bingo card, and each business in that shopping mall gets a little square, and you do a stamp every time you go into that business, and now you're bringing traffic in from those different businesses to this new place. What if we bring in a balloon artist or a face painter, and we draw in families and we attract families and make it a fun experience? What if we bring in local experts and vendors from your store to tell their story, and now they're promoting it to their audience? So you got to think about who you are. Again, it comes back to what's your goal, who's your audience, right? And come up with the idea, and then you just go ask them. And if it's going to benefit them and it's low risk, high reward, why would they say no? Well, thank you everybody again for coming today. This was so fun. Again, I said I could talk about this for forever. If you have any other questions, I'm going to be here for a little bit. I'm happy to talk offline. You can email me. You can follow us on social media. You can follow me personally on social media. At Build a Campfire, at Shannon R. Little. Can reach out to Society of Entrepreneurs, and we can find you there too. Follow them on social media, please. It makes us look good. SOE Memphis, as Pearson says, we don't even make you spell the word entrepreneur. So thank y'all. Have a good one.